Hello Steelers, and welcome to this review video of some of the new Flags of War miniatures that are currently being released. Ian was very kind enough to send me a box of samples of some of their new stuff, basically the War of Austrian Succession and their Border Wars Kickstarter. This is going to be coming out soon. I'll talk about that in a second. Also sent me a couple of flags as well, extra flags. So what I thought I'd do is I'd have a look at some of these because these are probably of some interest to some of the viewers out there. Neither of these are particularly my period, but I can at least look at the figures and show you what they're all about and explain what the Kickstarter and everything is as well for Ian. So as I say, he sent me 4 packs of figures. We've got here the Wars of Austrian Succession Dutch, the Wars of Austrian Succession British. We'll look at these closer in a second. We've also got some Reavers mounted set here and also some Reavers on foot. What I'm going to do here is I'll just read out the letter that Ian has sent, or parts of it anyway, just so it can give you a pretty clear idea of where these things are coming out and what he's going to do with them. So the War of Austrian Succession, it's going to be a Kickstarter range this month, which is currently March. Yes, March, with the aim to deliver in April. So it's currently ongoing, I'm assuming, when this video will be out. And it forms the start of Flags of War moving into the War of Austrian Succession. But it also will provide then some of support to their 1745 Jacobite rebellion range that already exists. Kickstarter will deliver the 5 packs with 4 miniatures in each. These are 28mm miniatures, and as most of you know who watch this video, these videos, this is something outside of my usual 50mm zone. But the packs are British Marching, which will include Command, Hackmen and Grenadiers, and the Dutch will have Command and Infantry, and they'll also be supporting the range with a load of new flags as well, of course. Their 1745 Jacobite range already provides a lot of the British for the period, including infantry, dragoons, artillery and Highlanders for the Black Watch, and the French are perfect for both the French and the Irish regiment. So there's already lots of crossover anyway with those, and this is just a supporting range really. The British and Dutch are just a start, but work has already begun on the next batch, with us having released the Garde Française, Hanover troops, French cavalry, French artillery and skirmishers, and I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, but the Arquebustes de Graçon. So there's quite a lot of stuff coming out. This is just the start of it. There is a lot coming out. It sounds like you can already tie it into the Jacobite stuff as well. So if you're already playing that, this may well be of interest for you. The Border Wars is something separate. This is the Border Reaver figures. These are going to be released via Kickstarter. Hopefully, he says, around April, May, once the other War of Austrian Succession stuff has been delivered. This first phase of figures are going to see a starter set of 5 mounted, 8 foot and 5 characters along with animals. This game will focus on small-scale skirmish actions where looting and stealing livestock were the main objectives. But Reaver killings and vengeances will also be high up on their priorities. He says, our sculptors have already completed the 3D sculpts for the next phase that will come after the delivery of the Kickstarter. And the next one will see a campaign book and a number of new character figures and a new Irish faction. So there's quite a lot to come as well, even just with that range. And these are just the starting points of this. They also do have a Facebook page for the Border Wars. I joined it the other day, so it's well worth joining that just to see some updates and things on the Kickstarters. So what we'll do here is we'll have a little look at the figures as they are unpainted. I am thinking of painting some of these just to show you how they look when they're painted. Whether my painting is going to be any good or not is a different matter, but we'll certainly do that. But as I say, for the first instance, we'll jump straight in and we'll have a look at the figures as they are in their natural state. Okay, so these are our first ones here. We have a pack here of 5 figures. These are the War of Austrian Succession British, and then over here we've got 3 figures, and these are the War of Austrian Succession Dutch, as you can see here. So let's just get these figures out and have a look at them. And he mentioned in the in the letter that these are being 3D printed, so I'm assuming that these are going to be quite nicely detailed when we have a look at the figures themselves. See if we can get this into focus for you. As you can see here, there is actually quite a lot of really nice detail on these. These are 28mm and they are metal figures, which is nice to see these days. We get a lot of plastic, don't we, these days? So we've got these guys. I think these are Grenadiers. As I say, I'm not particularly familiar with the period itself. So we've got Grenadiers there with the drummer. If they're not, please do tell me in the comments. I'm sure the people who are experts in these periods will know better than I do. And these guys are in tricorns here, you can see. So these are quite nice as well, and as he says, these will fit in. So that's an officer, I believe, yeah, an officer there, and then two marching chaps as well. So these will fit in quite nicely, as he says, with the 1745 rebellion stuff. I would assume that these, again, not knowing a great deal about the period, I would assume that these probably could even push up to things like the French Indian Wars and most of the wars of the later 18th century. I'm not sure how much the uniforms change between the 1740s and the later times, but I'm fairly sure these could probably fit in quite nicely to most pre-Napoleonic periods. Again, let me know in the comments. It's something I don't know a great deal about. But they're the 5 British for the Wars of Austrian Succession. So then we have a look at the Dutch. And again, there's 3 of these ones. So we've got a marching musketeer here, an officer pointing, they're always pointing, aren't they, and another chap here who I'm not entirely sure what he's doing, but I'm assuming that's another officer as well. Looks like he's holding something. There's nothing else in there that I've missed, I don't think. But they're the Dutch. Again, nice figures, really well sculpted actually, and they're really sharp detail on those figures as well, you can see. Obviously need a little bit of clean up. There's a bit of a few strands here and there of flash and what have you, but not a huge amount actually. That's mostly moulding lines than anything else rather than actual flash itself, so these probably won't take very long to clean up. But we'll have a look at these. As I say, I'll probably paint some of these British and then just see how they look when they're painted, but do mind my 28mm painting styles. And here we have a couple of the British for the War of the Austrian Succession. So again, I do apologise for my painting on these. Also, if there are any uniform mistakes, that's entirely down to me. I don't know the period at all. I just did some searches online for a couple of images of British uniforms during the War of Austrian Succession, so I just took them from there. So any mistakes are purely down to my lack of knowledge and research. I just kind of wanted to get some paint onto these again, just to give you an idea of how these figures look when they are painted up, even if they are cack-handedly painted up. But again, these are absolutely lovely figures. They're really, really nice. You know, I can imagine whole regiments of these marching across the battlefield. They will work pretty much for the period of the Wars of Austrian Succession plus either side of it. As Ian said in his letter, the Jacobite rebellion, that kind of thing. So again, you don't have to be using these for that exact particular period that they're supposed to be for by flags of war. You can use them for every other thing as well. Again, I only painted a couple of these just examples because I just wanted to get this review out as quick as possible so you could see them as well. They were a pleasure to paint, lots and lots of detail on them. It was really easy to pick up and I was very, very pleased with those. So that's the British for the wars, the Austrian Wars of Succession. Let's have a look at the Reaver borders and the border wars. And then here we have the Reavers, so this is for the border wars armies that are coming out. This is for the new Kickstarter in a month or so from when I'm recording this. So we have one here. This is the Reavers mounted, and then we also just have Reavers foot. So let's have a look at this mounted chap first of all. Here we are. So we have our horse. That's a nicely proportioned horse. It always amazes me how big 28mm figures are because I don't often see them, to be honest. There you go, the mounted guy with a helmet and a cape and all that. Looks like that will fit on quite nicely, and little shield I can't remember what the name of these smallish shields are, to be honest. And he also has a spear as well, which is quite thick. But I suppose you could probably, if you wanted to, replace that with a wire spear. I know there's some people that do that kind of thing. But that looks like actually it's a pretty good solid spear, to be perfectly honest. So that's very nice. Again, lots of really crisp detail on these. They really, for metal figures, you know, the things are vastly improved these days with 3D printing and 3D design and CAD design and things. So that's a very nice figure there. And then we have 3 foot soldiers, or foot reavers, should I say, the name there. So this chap here holding a spear. Again, we have a spear, so he's similar to your man on the horse, and again has a small shield there for him. And again, that's a really nice pose, that one. You know, it looks almost like he's relaxing. You know, could be guarding a bastille or something up in the Northumbrian wastelands, as they are. We have a very nice, looks like a kind of leader kind of guy there. Again, I'm not entirely sure what the name of these helmets are, but that was very typical of the period. It always reminds me of things like the Spanish Armada or something. I can't remember the name of them. These little helmets. But he's a really nice figure, very dynamic, and because obviously it's skirmish, this is the kind of thing you really want with skirmish figures. You want as many different kind of poses of them as possible, so that's lovely. And then we also have a bowman as well here, so another fellow just drawing his arrow, and that again is a really nice pose. The fact that he's not already got it up, he's actually, you know, he is drawing it, he's in the middle of doing something. Really nice nice little flavour to that, I think. So this will be a very interesting range, I think, as they develop it, and will be something that, again, a really good, nice entry level to the period for people if it's skirmish. So these are the 2 border reavers. I didn't paint everything, I just painted a couple of them just as an example, really. And don't mind my painting, I'm not used to painting 28mm figures, so I do apologise for that. But I wanted just to get some colour on these things, just so you can see kind of how they look really when they have been painted and based. I'm really impressed with these figures. They are lovely close up. There's loads of detail on them, because obviously when you're painting them you see a lot more detail than you would normally. I think these are fantastic little figures, so full of character, particularly the guy with the helmet, the little, probably I suppose is a captain or something, isn't he? He could be quite easily used for anything really, from the Elizabethan times onwards. For a couple of hundred years, I would have said, even as a little character for any kind of game. He's so full of dynamism, just standing on that rock and looking out across his landscape. And the other chap as well with the shield. You can tell that these were designed in 3D software, because again their proportions of them are really nice. I mean, if they've probably been done by hand, you kind of sometimes get slightly weird proportions on figures, but these are really nicely put together. They don't look, you know, particularly cartoonish in any way. And as I say, even if you weren't particularly interested in playing Border Wars, the Border Wars game, these would work very well as nice figures for something else as well. So I would be more than happy to buy these if this was the period I was interested in. It's well worth checking out the Kickstarter. And then finally, for this part, Ian did send down some flags, because obviously flags of war are flags, make flags. So these ones are, this is Fandos Dwarf Fantasy Hammer Anvil banners. They're very nice, aren't they? You can see what I like about them is they've got what looks like the folds of the cloth actually painted onto them as well. They're very nice. I mean, you know, fantasy is not my thing, but if it's yours and you're looking for flags, then this is the kind of thing that you'd want. Nice and easy to cut out, thin enough paper, so that will bend around a flagpole pretty easily, I would have said, quite nicely. We also have some Austrian line infantry for 1806. Again, really nicely painted, actually, really nice details and designs on these, so they will look fantastic on anybody's Napoleonic Austrian army from the 1806 fighting as well. And then finally we have these as well, the medieval flag. It says stripes make your own. So obviously this is not a particular army or any particular side, but it looks like it's like for banners, because it seems to have a fold over area over there. So these will be just usable for pretty much all of that medieval period, really. Again, just add a bit of flavour and colour. And these are really, really nice flags, just looking at all three of them together. They're lovely. And he said they will be producing more Wars of Austrian Succession flags as well to go with the figures later on. So that's something to look out for. You know, we're wargamers, we like flags. These are very nice flags, well worth checking out. You can see the website here is flagsofwar.com. Just go and check that out and go and have a look, see what else he's got on there.